Good day and welcome to this Topical series where we're touching on the impact of social media on young people, children, and really enjoying having Caitlin here today. Caitlin, and just your role in the church today.
I am the teenage or youth coordinator, and I also coordinate the children's church and the teen church.
So you have quite a lot to do with young people a lot of the time.
Yes, I only work with young people.
And you're involved in one of the local schools also.
Yes, yeah, I go to the school sometimes and have a couple conversations with the teenagers there.
So you left school just the other day.
Yes, about 10 years ago was when I matriculated.
And what have you noticed in social media? Some of the current things that were happening then, but now obviously 10 years later, you've noticed some real shifts.
Change, yeah.
Some big shifts, yeah.
So social media has taken quite a massive leap forward. So we're focusing really on the impact that it's having on young people today and the dangers around that. So when I was younger, we were more concerned with the information you were giving out, maybe someone being able to get a hold of you,
Yes.
Putting you in physical dangerous situations. These days, that definitely is a bit of an issue. But one of the main things that I've noticed with the teenagers I work with is the social media platforms that they use, which is mostly YouTube and TikTok, a little bit of Twitter,
Yes.
but the information they're receiving in terms of what they believe and what they should believe,
Right.
the morals and values that they have are now being taught on these social media platforms in a very fun way to bring attention to them. The kids end up watching it, and instead of getting their morals and values and belief systems from family and maybe from the church, they're getting it from social media influences instead.
So you're saying where there was kind of a physical danger early on, now there's a more ominous danger lurking in the background. So our purpose really in the series is to lift up these realities. And so this is just an introduction today. So something like politics. What are these? I know you've used this term, influences.
Yes.
So what's happening there in politics today? Just a very general, just so that to draw in our listeners.
Yeah, so politics wasn't a thing I really considered when I was young.
As a young
a teenager,
person,
yeah. And the teenagers today might not think or realize that they're being influenced by politics. But for example, the President of the United States has now got an entire team who, in terms of communication, is focused on social media communication with young people. And reaching younger people in politics it's not a new thing, but politics has become very focused on ideologies and belief systems and things like that. Most of them extremely liberal, definitely not what we believe biblically.
Right.
And because they're aiming at influences and social media, this is what teenagers are now receiving. Instead of receiving just fun things on the internet, they're receiving political beliefs, they're receiving political ideologies without even realizing it. And these influences, if you don't know, it's just people on social media, they have an account, they post videos or stories or songs and dances and things like that, which seem, if you're looking at it just at a glance, it just seems like something fun that your child is watching. But it's actually, a lot of it is extremely political. And the goal is, as the name is, influences. The goal is to influence whoever's watching it to believe something particular.
Yeah. So I mean, this is this sort of grey area of your truth, my truth, and then some would say that the Bible says that we should love one another and accept each other. So how do we draw that line between just accepting everybody and saying, well, your truth just can't be your truth. Surely there's an objective moral truth as Christians we're exposed to.
Yeah, so that's the tricky thing, because your child, if you're not talking to them about, or your child or your grandchild, whoever they are, if you're not talking to them often and openly about, sort of biblical beliefs and biblical values and truth being the gospel, being Jesus, what they're currently receiving, and you need to talk to them often because they're on social media most of the day, some form of social media, so they're receiving information most of the day, and if you don't combat that, then it's going to kind of outweigh whatever you're doing. But the big narrative at the moment is just that there is no one truth. The truth depends on who you are as a person and what you believe, and it is just this world of tolerance and love everyone no matter what. And for teenagers, a lot of what I've seen, the ones that I work with struggle with, is that in high school now they're supposed to accept all these different ideologies and belief systems that have come into the high schools. And as good Christians, they must just accept it and love, and they need to be taught by the older people around them that love in the Bible isn't the same love that the world sees, and truth in the Bible is not the same truth that the world values. But that can and must be done by the adults in their lives, by their parents and guardians and grandparents, which is why it's important for you to talk to them.
So you would say for parents, they need to clarify the truth for themselves.
Yes.
And that's going to be important.
Very important.
And then help the child, the young person, clarify truths, because the Bible does say in Romans chapter 1 verse 18 that we are suppressors of the truth, that we actually know the truth simply by being born into God's creation, into a moral universe as it's sometimes called. It says that since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. So since the beginning of the world, his eternal qualities, who he is, and all of that pointing ultimately to Jesus being the way, the truth, and the life. Because in the Bible, truth is a person. Ultimately, then, it's following Christ. And I suppose our challenge as people in the church, and maybe for parents, is to try and help young people navigate between what is grace and acceptance and what is objective moral truth, which is non-negotiable.
Yeah, and it doesn't flow and it doesn't depend on the situation or the person, because that becomes very dangerous. That it's something core and it's something that just exists and is still and is not as flowing, which currently that's what they're being taught, is that truth it just flows and it depends.
So in this series we'll touch on this liberal reality and how it affects different communities that young people are exposed to, be they online or the reality, identity issues with young people. But this has been a good start.
A good start, yeah.
Thanks so much. Thanks then, and we'll see you next time.